Hello, everyone, and good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Happy Elfmas to you. We're on day 11 of the 12 days of Elfmas. Very exciting. We're almost to the end, and we have a special guest. Elf Celia is joining us here.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing, Celia?
Pretty good.
Excellent. That's great. She's going to be sharing some of the work she's done on working on a wish that was almost solved until it was unsolved last night. We'll find out.
Kind of. Yeah, we have to see. It's kind of tricky.
It's kind of tricky, so we'll find out more about that shortly. And Elf Christine is here. Elf Vicky said that she's probably going to join us in a little bit, so we'll see her shortly. But Christine, can you give us an update on the stats?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Mm-hmm. So our in progress is 56. Our check it twice is 85. That's up 1. Our complete is showing 70 profiles. And that gives us 58% of wishes being worked on. Now, of course, this isn't including some of the wishes that are being worked on behind the scenes, but it's a good indication of where we're at.
Does that include the brick-walled ones?
If anything has been marked as brick-walled, they should be in the complete.
Yes.
Okay.
I know there were some that I marked. I switched to the complete tag, but put brick-walled in the notes. So some of those are counted in that, but I suspect there might be some that are brick-walled that haven't been switched from in progress. Or
there's still quite a few profiles, so it's a bit onerous sometimes to keep track of where you're at in this spreadsheet.
That's right, yeah. And there is a whole pile, like any of the ones that are being worked on by Emma or are DNA related, they haven't been categorized. Most of them haven't been categorized at all. So,
but I think some of those are going to be in the brick wall section.
That's right, yes.
But I'm hoping that we can talk about that maybe Saturday.
I'm hoping so too, yeah. So anyways, the elves have been doing a great job. And
yes, I see Anne in the chat and Amanda and Stephen Tomaso and Hillary. He did a great presentation. Dee.
Yeah,
I thought I saw John Tyner in there somewhere. Patty.
Show up.
All the usuals.
All the usuals. The usual suspects.
Yeah.
There we go. There's Vicky.
Hi there.
Just in time to miss all the stats.
Woohoo!
Marine's joining us for the first time. Hi, Marine. Nice to welcome. Sorry.
All right. So, what do we have on deck today, Celia?
So Celia is going to talk about one of the wishes that she worked on. So, are you ready for me to share your screen, Celia?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So take us through it.
All right. So.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking up this wish. Thank you.
Wow.
I didn't even know where to start with that one.
A Polish one. So the way you start with these is you start with the people who are in America. So this wish may or may not have gotten solved. I kind of answered some things that are important about it, and hopefully, at the very least, I gave the wishy things to work on.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
How do you pronounce the profile, the name of the people on the profile?
Well, I don't know, but it translates as basically Theodore.
Okay.
His name is Theodore Barna when we start looking for him. So,
okay.
I read Pablo.
What'd you say?
Pablo? Isn't it Pablo?
This is his brother, his son.
Uh-huh.
Pavel, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paul is how he got.
Oh, there it is.
Americanized. So the I should actually go back and show you the wish. Yeah. The wish was that they wanted to break the brick wall of the family line. Paul Barna has a naturalization record in the U.S. that states he departed from Rotterdam, but I cannot make out the name of the ship because I'm bad at reading cursive. Finding his actual record from Rotterdam could possibly pinpoint where they were from. records involving them and their homeland will not be in English, which is very true. But luckily, we have ways to work with this. So I went into Paul, and I found his. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place. Here we go. I found his naturalization record, and the fun thing about this naturalization record is he must not remember what ship he was on, because the ship that he describes. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. So everything, I checked the record, and everything in the record makes sense, except and I managed to work out what the name was. Went from family search to Ancestry and back, looking at the records. And this one is sorry, my computer's a little bit laggy. You can see he says he came on the vessel Antwerpen, and he arrived on the 15th of July, 1902, which sounds great. I went to Ancestry and dug through loads of passenger lists and did searches and stuff like that. And as far as I can tell, the ship Antwerpen did not go to New York in that time frame. So it doesn't actually help. Now, it's entirely possible. It's like 17 years later. He may have just forgotten the ship. One thing I did find was a passenger list for Pavel going into New York in 1901 on a ship which also has a name of a city. So I was like, yeah, that it could very well be him. I don't know that we can tell from looking at it, but I threw it in the notes, at least as a reference. It's the right time, would be reasonable for him to have made that trip, et cetera, et cetera. But basically at this point, I've hit a brick wall in terms of what they provided. And so what I did instead was pull up I pulled up his obituary. Oops, sorry. I always forget that I have to jump down. There we go. So obituaries can be absolutely priceless for stuff like this because they often list their siblings. So here he lists 5 sisters: Mrs. Gerbil, I hope that's how you say it, Mrs. Markovitz, and 3 in Europe. And from there, I also pull up Ancestry and look at what trees they suggest could be right. And so it's a lot of, I probably should have prepped this because a lot of it is just sort of opening it up and going, okay, well, they think there's a John. You didn't mention a John. Maybe I should try somebody else instead. And I just repeat that over and over and over again until I come across trees that have obituaries. That's always really helpful. Or other details that seem to mesh. So, like, obviously, this guy's in the same city. It could be, I think he went on my possible list. I couldn't prove he belonged to that family, but I couldn't prove he didn't. However, he wasn't listed in Paul's obit, and he died after him, so pretty shady there. I also tend to make a working tree, basically, in family search. So some of these names some of these names are from that. But specifically in this case, I had the name when I went to Family Search. There was a tree already set up, and it had his mother is having a second marriage, and the second marriage has a bunch of daughters. And so I looked at the daughters, and one of the daughters ends up marrying Jorbil.
There's Jorbil.
The thing about these things is you look at the obituaries and you take the names, the way they spell the names, with an enormous grain of salt, because the people who wrote the obituaries may not have known how to, they may have dictated it over the phone or something like that. But I'm like, Jorbil, we're in a good place here.
Yeah.
When I found her obituary, she has a profile, so she has when I found her I did not find her obituary. But she was found in his obituary.
Mm-hmm. And did you find Markowitz as well?
I did. Markowitz is Tatiana.
Nice name.
Yep. No, she must be Florence.
Oh.
Also a pretty good name.
Okay. I had an Aunt Florence, great Aunt Florence, who was not Polish.
Oh, I didn't.
Maria?
Or possibly I did, and I didn't write it down. This is why you write things down, people.
I'm pretty sure I saw Markowitz fly by earlier.
Well, Markowitz is the mom's last name.
Oh, the mom's.
So so I was like, this is really interesting here. Oh, I also did. There's often a lot of times people marry within the culture,
right?
And so at some point when I wasn't getting quite enough answers, I went back to look at his wife, who also has an obituary, and her obituary lists her siblings. Dig down through those. Oddly enough, her sister who married a Barnett, I don't know if she's married to, I think she's married to his cousin.
Okay, not his brother.
I think. When I went through, it's a little hard because they all came at different times and stuff like this. And he went to the States at age 14, and he lived in Pennsylvania for a while before he moved to exactly the same town. So it's possible that he's a brother and he just came with somebody else. But I'm guessing that he's probably a cousin.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, his bio, I didn't build it because I didn't build his parents. His obituary explicitly lists his brother, which was nice. And where he went to church. All of them went to the same church. They definitely knew each other if they were not close relatives. And so a lot of this stuff, because I couldn't really prove it, I ended up leaving. Oops, still. I'm just going to randomly click the back key until I find where I'm looking for. It'll take a long time. There's probably faster ways to do this. Oh, wait, I could just click directly there. So as I did this, I went through and left notes. I couldn't find the correct record. I couldn't find his actual naturalization papers. So either he didn't finish the process, which might be the case if he had the wrong name for the ship. Maybe they couldn't prove he was not lying about things and didn't let him naturalize. I don't know how things work, but this tree was just absolutely fantastic about listing relatives in their obituaries, and I love them so much for that. As I worked, a lot of times people would come up with names that were the same. Theodore Barna, who's from a different area, but he lived in the town, went to all the same churches, shows up in the city directory right below them. When his obituary showed up, it did not list his siblings, so probably not, but definitely could be related. They were about 200 miles away from each other, the original towns. Michael and John definitely were siblings. They both had this. And one thing I thought was really interesting is he married Tilly's sister, which is often an indicator that they're relatives. People marry in the same small groups. Both he and John had a daughter named Olga. And it's not that that's a particularly rare name, but it's also not that common. And both of these guys, and Paul and Theodore, all had daughters named Olga, which sometimes means that like there's a grandmother off screen who's also named Olga.
I like that.
This was so annoying. One of Tilly's sisters was Mrs. Kolvac, because of course they never say Mrs. Mary Kolvac, they just say Mrs. Kolvac, and if you're really lucky, they say the guy's first name, but this one didn't even do that. It was just Mrs. Kolvac. So I started digging, and I was like, oh, Mary Kolvac. All right. And no, this is a Mary Barna who married the Kolvac. The woman I was looking for was married a John Kolovic. I'm probably saying them wrong. I don't pronounce things correctly at all. But so she's not part of this family, but she might be part of John and Michael's family. And there's actually a possibility that Theodore is as well, because he was living in Pennsylvania before he moved to Clifton. But I mostly dug into them enough that I was like, no, and then moved on. But at one point I just got kind of stuck, and I was like, I just do not know where to look. So I came back to, that's wrong place. I came back to the original profile, and the original profile had siblings added. I'm not moving. Why am I not moving? There we go. The original profile had siblings added. And so I decided what I would do is I would just randomly pick a sibling, and I would look to see if there's anything interesting in Ancestry that might tie them together. And the first one that I picked was Simeon. And there's very little about him. But the one file that came up was a Simeon Barna going to the United States with his brother, Theodore. And the ages were just about perfect. And I was like, that's really weird. They came from the same town that I had seen showing up in some of the paperwork. And I was like, that is just really, really weird. And I did another search off of him, and the first thing that came up for that was a record in which a woman is going to the United States to stay with her brother. And her father is Simon Barna, and her name is the place that she's going. I was like, this cannot be right. The brother that she's going to stay with is named Pavel Barna, and he lives at 133 Lake Street. Now, I'm like, that address is oddly familiar. That address is where he's living in 1920. Ooh. So it is absolutely 100%, assuming she's not lying, of course. But as far as the paperwork is concerned, she is 100% his sister. And that is where I was like, okay, my brain, it's been like 2 solid days of looking at this. His sister married this guy, and I don't know what that name is supposed to be, but it is not correct.
Waving yak. Oh, I remember this.
Yes. So something is very bad, very wrong with the transcription, and I'm unable to figure out what it's supposed to be well enough to track them into the censuses. And like I said, I'd kind of used my brain up by that point. And so I went back to the notes and just left, just keep hitting that back button there, Celia. Left a note with some things about the potentials to explore and things like that. So I may not have 100% solved it, but I certainly gave them a really good starting point for some more investigation. And yesterday, when I was going to start, I was like, I need to remember what the heck this stuff is about. So I decided to do one little last check and pulled up, come on. So when I do these things, I go back and forth from site to site I love Sorcerer. It makes everything take about a quarter of the time it should. Off to Find a Grave, off to Ancestry, off to My Heritage. But so I went to My Heritage, and I hadn't been there in a while, and I hadn't looked at the trees. And the first tree that pops up, look at that, is Simeon. He's in the right place.
It's lucky. Yeah.
And there's a daughter with the right name. Now, the problem with this is the tree that they have on Family Search as being his being the right one, Theodore, Eudokia, etc. The problem is that looking at this tree, there is not a Pavel.
Ooh.
You can see the Theodore, and I was like, oh, maybe that's him, but it's not. And in fact, actually, I think I've ruled out this person because that, that's not the wife's name.
Right.
Now, here you can see this has a Romaniac, I don't know, wife's name. And this was really fun. I was staring at these things going, I don't know. I mean, I can guess what C means, but I'm not positive. Oh, there we go. And I discovered that if you tell it to translate this,
daughter of.
Well, I was pretty sure that was what it meant, but I wasn't. Oh yeah. It just did it and put it into Polish. If I tell it that it's Polish, that this is a Polish page, it translates. Sorry, if I tell it the other way around, I tell it to translate it to English. It translated that for me and told me that these things were daughter of and married, their maiden names. And I was like, that is a fantastic thing to learn. Good job, me. The other thing with this is that not only is this daughter, there's no Pavel, but also this daughter is listed as marrying somebody else. So what I ended up doing, oops, sorry, my battery's running low. What I ended up doing was contacting this guy. I don't speak Polish. I'm really hoping he speaks English. And I wrote a very careful email, very careful message, no contractions and stuff like that, just so that if he has to run it through Google Translate, it'll not get hung up on idioms. And
Yes.
I asked him, because his tree has a huge amount of, there's a couple other Barnas in it when I was roaming around. And I asked him if anything sounded familiar. I said, this is the details that I know. I gave him the reference to her page. And I said, does any of this sound familiar? So possibly, if I'm lucky, he'll write back and have a good answer. Possibly he'll write back and say, sorry, I don't. But I think the one thing that we can do is we can rule out it being that particular Theodore family, that particular Barna family, because the level of detail in his tree suggests that no, it can't be that.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just actually go and remove him from that tree.
Okay.
When I do these things, I always try to clean up the sites that I'm working on while I'm at it, so that
that's great for future genealogists.
Exactly. And so I don't end up leaving incorrect information there that somebody will then come to WikiTree and copy into it. Yeah. Yeah. So that is the story.
Excellent. So. Wow, that was great, Celia. I love how you explored lots of different things and explained how you went from one to another and tried to circumvent the lack of details or records that were there. So that was great. There were a couple questions in the chat. So first of all, Anne asked if they were Jewish and if they were in the Jewish gen.
They're not Jewish. They're Catholic.
That's what I thought I saw from the record.
Yeah. Okay. Greek. It's listed as Greek Orthodox sometimes, but it actually means Ukrainian Orthodox.
Right.
They dug into it.
Yeah, and there was a couple of other suggestions about some of the translations. So Tatiana is often.
Oh yeah, the Warniak. It's true. I did actually wonder about that because the woman that he married, or the woman in that tree did marry a Warniak. Well, yeah, she married a Warniak, but she married one in Poland, I think. If I'm lucky, maybe he'll write back and go, oh, yeah, that wasn't in Poland. That was in the United States. That must be her. At which point I will just reconnect the tree. That's the other thing I try to remember, is that you can unconnect people and then you can go, whoops, I made a mistake, and reconnect them. And there's nothing lost there.
That's right. That's good. Yeah. And Elf Julian, who gave her an excellent presentation on his French research a few days ago, made that suggestion as well. Wavenyak could be Warnyak.
My favorite part of this stuff is going, it's the early 1900s. I've never seen a Polish name. How would I write this?
Yeah, that's right.
How would I say this?
Yes. Yeah. I when you posted this on Discord, I made a bunch of jests. Maybe Wavenyak could be Greet in Yeti, or
you have to have a good sense of humor. You'll just get so
exactly
burned out.
So,
but yeah, I'll put that. It's a good note, Julian, and I'll put a note about that into the profile for the Wishy. And like I said, we'll see if I hear back from Marcus.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm a stranger, and I was just wanting to ask questions about your family.
Just random questions about names I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, what a wonderful example of going through lots of different, the whole family, neighbors, and all that stuff. Yeah, the family.
There's so many more people that I didn't put into the tree because I was like, you have to focus. You have to focus.
Oh.
Because I was like going off into the sisters of sisters and in-laws.
We've seen a lot of rabbit emojis in the
Yeah.
But it's the other thing is a lot of that is if the Wishy decides she wants to build out her CC7, the stuff in the family search trees to start that off.
That's excellent.
And I did conclusively find evidence of that country or the city name that she'd wanted. And I guess the two questions were, what ship did he come in? And that one I answered, except it was possibly a lie. And I was like, oh, I'm done. And I was like, all right, let's actually look into the details.
Right. So if it wasn't Antwerp, what was the city that the ship that he
Potsdam
came in?
was the name of the ship that Pavel actually came in on. Well, a Pavel came in on.
Pavel, yeah.
So perhaps he just remembered the name of the city wrong and just knew that it was the city. I mean, God knows I could make that mistake.
Oh man, yeah. I came in on a city. Yeah.
17 years later, you're going, well, it was named for a city.
Yeah. That's right.
Like really, when you're immigrating to a new country, is that the detail that you're going to remember?
That's right.
Yeah, that's why I'm always really impressed by the people who are like, it was 7:15.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. More likely, I was seasick for the first 3 days and was heaving for that.
Oh, and the parts where they come with all of their children. And I'm like, can you imagine spending 6 weeks on a boat with 4 kids under 5?
Oh my Lord.
I'm pretty sure my mom would have thrown us overboard before we left the harbor. Like, you can swim back. Bye, honey.
Yeah, that's right.
You're fine. Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. Wow. Thank you very much, Celia. That was wonderful. Great. So we only have one more day. The 12th day of Elfmas will happen here 12 noon Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Sadly, I don't think I will be able to join you. I'll be doing some other non-elfy stuff tomorrow. But Elf Vicky will be here, and I think Elf Christine and Elf Betsy will probably be here as well, along with our special guest, Tia. Then we have the big wrap up on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and where we'll talk about all the things that happen with Secret Santa and reveal a bunch of different things at that point. So looking forward to that. So thanks again, Celia, for joining us. And thanks to all of the people who are elfing away and helping us get through the last batch. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
See you. Thanks, Celia.
Thanks. Bye.